All right, so aim 13.3, how did Isabella and Ferdinand and King Philip II of Spain represent absolutist rulers? So we're going to take a look at a couple of different people. We're going to take a look at Isabella and Ferdinand together, our kind of king and queen together, and then King Philip II also. And we'll kind of group these people together and call these the absolute rulers of Spain. They come one right after the other, or, one right after the two of them. So we'll take a look at that. So here we go. All right, I'll give you a second. All right, so Isabella and Ferdinand. Now, they're going to look a little bit different than Louis XIV, for example. We always use Louis XIV as a great example of absolutism because he controls everything. He controls, obviously, all the politics, the economy, and all of the social aspects, education, religion, etc., everything, okay? As we move forward, the other examples of absolutism that we look at are not going to be as severe as what we saw with Louis XIV as far as being an example of that absolutist rule. So Isabella and Ferdinand are king and queen of Spain for, 40 or so years, 45 years or so. And they concentrate economic, political, and social policy power in their own hands and no one else's. And most famously, they become known for what's called militant Catholicism, which is my favorite vocab word from this course, militant Catholicism. It's kind of like, smashing two words together that you don't think should go together, like jumbo shrimp or near miss. Militant Catholicism is this idea that you use your military to kind of spread and enforce the policies of Christianity. We've talked about Isabella and Ferdinand in the past when we talked about the Spanish Armada. So, or that might be Philip. But regardless, they are the kind of inventors of this idea of militant Catholicism and using your military to kind of shut down other religious practices and make sure that Catholicism is the only religion in Spain and Spanish colonies also. So this is the thing particularly that makes them an absolutist ruler. Anytime a ruler branches their control out past kind of the ideas of politics, they could be considered absolutist to a certain extent, right? So religion is a social function. It's not a political function. So because they are controlling this particular aspect of society outside the realm of politics, we consider them absolute rulers. All right, I'll give you a second. All right, so Philip II, great-grandson of Isabella and Ferdinand. So there's, a couple of generations in between, but he comes pretty closely thereafter. And he serves as king from 1556 to 1598. So this is the Spanish Armada guy. We talked about, at the end of the topic of Protestant Reformation, we talked about religious wars and how Spain kind of, tried to crush Protestantism in England through the use of the Spanish Armada. This is the guy that sends the Spanish Armada. And again, this is that militant Catholicism, right? So he's exerting control over religious aspects of life. That's what makes him an absolutist ruler. He's also the guy who kind of oversees exploration. We know Columbus sails in 1492 or whatever, so that's a little bit prior to this guy. But as far as conquest and conquering the people of Central and South America, King Philip II is in power for a lot of those events. So militant Catholicism is kind of the big, word association. So I will give you a second to copy this down. But the general idea here is that they don't need input from anyone, and they can control things other than just the government, okay? Like we said earlier, religion is a function of society. It's a social function. So when a ruler exerts control over religion, that is an example of them being an absolutist. Okay, there's other things that are functions of society, like education is a function of society, religion, obviously. Social class system is a function of society. Um, Invention and technology are functions of society. So when rulers take control of these aspects of life that are usually outside of their purview, they are supposed to concentrate on ruling and politics and the government. So as these rulers are continuing to try to control these other aspects of life outside of the government, these are all examples of absolutist rule. So the bottom line here is that we need to be able to play word association here. So if and when the New York State Regents exam mentions Ferdinand and Isabella and or Philip II, the first place our brains should go to is militant Catholicism as absolute rulers. We should know that these groups, Ferdinand and Isabella and then Philip II, are best known for militant Catholicism, and that's what makes them examples of absolutist rulers.